Hey, gang. I'm going to deviate from the tea drinking aspect. I know it's terror time tea and I don't have tea. Truly, I forgot it is 10:02 and me and Candace a few hours earlier did a Friday Foolish. We had to, uh, change the time around because Candace started a new job and she had to work till 4 o'clock today. Hence, we did not get to do the 1 o'clock time slot. So we're going to kind of see how this goes. So I sat down here and I got everything started and I was running the intro and everything. And I was like, oh, Dana, you didn't fix tea. So this is going to be Terror Time tea, but without the tea. Hopefully, I will be able to return to the regularly scheduled tea drinking the next one of these that I do. Um, so, also, the movie that I picked to talk about. And the reason why there's only one is because I was watching it in chunks today. And it's over 2 hours, well, 2 hours and 1 minute long. Um, and I just was like, I don't want to wait any later. I was going to talk about Do You Like Hitchcock? But I will save that for the next Terror Time tea I do this next Friday. And I'm not really sure, but if Candace keeps the same schedule um, while she is, doing this new job, um, we will probably have to do evening Friday Foolish shows. So um, it may be that I do just one movie on Terror Time tea during that time period. So, hence me doing the 5 days or 5 days in Milan. This is a Dario Argento film, believe it or not. It's listed as a comedy drama history film. And I would assume, what happens when you assume stuff. I would assume since Argento is indeed Italian, that he would be able to look up specifics about the uh, Italian Revolution. So this is supposed to well, it was made in 1973, first of all, and it's referred to as the 5 days or 5 days in Milan. Um, there are some comedic parts, but let me tell you this. I was expecting, this is not like laugh out loud funny. There are some comedic parts during the beginning of the film, and then the film gets very violent in spots. There is an assault on a woman. There is a guy getting shot in the head. There are several people that are hanged in this. The blood does fly, people, and that definitely does remind me of other Argento films. Um, but I thought the film had heart too. Steve, when he came home, I said, "Well, I finished the 5 days or 5 days in Milan," and he said, "I bet it was." He said something to the effect, "I bet it was awful." I said, "Not really. I mean, I thought it flowed good. I was actually sad at some parts of it. Um, Seeing people, hanging and, seeing people get their heads blown off and seeing a woman sexually assaulted. Um, I mean, those things are not fun things to watch, even though that that it's not real within the film. It's still I mean, the people hanging, that was disturbing. They didn't actually show the people being hanged, but there were bodies and they were hanging. And I'm sure the Italian Revolution was violent, as a lot of other revolutions in history were, and wars and different things. But what the movie mainly focuses is on, it's supposed to be 1848 in Milan. There's a thief, Canazzo, I think is his name, and he meets up when he gets kind of literally busted out of prison. He meets up with Romolo, who is a baker, and he at first he seems, Canazzo seems irritated with Romulo. Romolo's younger than he is, and he's like, "Why are you following me around? And why are you bothering me?" But then he as the movie progresses, he looks upon Romolo as a friend, and they go across Milan together. And Romolo is wanting to get back to Rome, where he's from, and Canazzo wants to get back home too. But they get embroiled in the revolution, where you have the Austrians and the Patriots. And what I took away from the movie is there really are no good guys in those factions, because the Patriots were doing just as terrible of things, if not worse, than the Austrians were doing. And, the Patriots were doing it in the name of free Milan, free Italy, I'm going to get to what Canazzo says at the very end of the film. But Canazzo and Romolo go through lots of adventures, and they help a pregnant woman give birth. And that part was kind of funny because they say, "We're fathers," and the woman thanks them, and those kind of scenes were kind of heartwarming. And when you saw the friendship grow between Canazzo and Romolo, I thought that was very heartfelt, and I grew to care for these guys, the characters throughout the film. And when I first sat down to watch this, I was thinking, this isn't a giallo. So how am I going to feel about this film? I thought I wasn't going to like it. But I got caught up in the story, and I followed these two guys throughout the story. And there's one scene where Canazzo and Romolo get caught up in a battle, and Canazzo thinks that Romolo died in that, and he kind of strikes out on his own, and then he finds Romolo, and they're just like, they strike up that friendship all again. It's like, it's almost like, if you haven't seen a friend for many, many years, and then you see that friend again, and it's like you pick up right where you left off. So even though it wasn't years, um, Canazzo thought Romalo was dead, and you could tell he was just heartbroken. So he goes from being really agitated. It's almost like a older brother and younger brother type of thing, where, don't bother me, kid. I got things to do. So that's how it started out. And then um, Romalo became an equal. He became a friend of Canazzo's. And like I said, they went on all these adventures. So Kainazo and Romalo come back together, and um, Romalo ends up having a tryst, a romantic interlude with um, an Austrian woman. And I think Kainazo realizes at that time that he's too young to be following me around and possibly something bad happening to him. So he tells the Austrian woman, he says, "You take care of him. I'm going to. I've got to get back home." And um, basically, I'm worried about Romalo. He should stay here with you, and you can take care of him, and he can take care of you, because she was a widow. And there's a very humorous scene before that where she's having sex with Romalo. And we see Kainazo just eating cheese because she had gave him cheese and wine, um, but you could tell that she was lonely. She was widowed, and even when her husband was alive, he was much older than her, and she had to admit that the romance really wasn't there, and so she was able to um, enjoy her time with Romola. It in more ways than one. Um, but Kainazo and Romalo end up meeting up again after Kainazo gets, I don't know if he gets stopped at the border of Milan, and the Austrians take him um, into custody, and he's shackled or handcuffed or whatever, I guess shackled during the that time period. And so Kainazo has been looking um, for a guy he considered a friend, and he kept seeing him throughout the film. And this guy's name is Zampino, and he sees just glimpses of him, Zampino, Zampino, and he can never catch up to the guy. So when he's kind of hauled into court with one, just a judge, there's no jury or anything, and the guy has got papers up in front of his face, and he tells the guards or whatever they are to leave and not come back until he tells them to. And then when he lowers the papers, um, Kainazo sees it's Zampino. And he finds out that Zampino is basically a spy for the Austrians. And he's like, don't you feel like a traitor and all that? And Zampino gets angry with him the more he talks to him, but he does request that Kainazo be released. He didn't do anything, and he tells Kainazo to go on his way. So at that point, Kainazo is pretty disillusioned with Zampino. And, he strikes out on his own again and runs into Romalo again. Now, I'm going to give some things away. So if you are at all interested in watching, going into the 5 days blindly, you might want to stop this video until you've watched the film, um, and go back. If you've started the film and you haven't finished it up, or you want to watch it before you know all the ins and outs of this, pause this video or restart it later or whatever. But if you don't want to know what happens at the end, don't go any further until after you've watched it, okay? If you don't care, then by all means keep listening. But I just wanted to give that little warning there, because I don't want to ruin any movie for anyone, okay? Because I've had movies ruined for me before. Okay, so Um, so the Romallo or Cainazzo and Romallo keep meeting up with this group of guys who call themselves patriots. And we find out that these guys, like I said earlier, are in fact maybe worse than the Austrians because they're hiding behind, there's a lot of political stuff in this. They're hiding behind the guise of, hey, we're the heroes, but they're doing horrendous things because uh, the Austrians, or I mean, not the Austrians, the Patriots break in to, they are told by a spy that his fiance is messing around with the Austrian. And so Cainazzo and Ramallo beat the snot out of that guy. And then we see the Patriots, those group of Patriots led by a grizzled old man. They go, they bust into this house where that, I guess that guy's fiance is having sex with the Austrian, I guess an Austrian soldier. And basically, this grizzled old guy that's part of the Patriots sticks a gun up to this guy's head and kills him. And then by the time Cainazzo and Ramallo get there after beating the snot out of that spy, um, the old man is going to rape this young woman or sexually assault her, I guess I should say. Um, and, it doesn't show a whole lot, but uh, it's still, disturbing. And Ramallo keeps speaking up. He's like, excuse me, you shouldn't do this, don't do this. And this is a young guy that, he cares about people. He don't want to see innocent people harmed or anything like that. So, but Cainazzo knows that if Romallo keeps doing this, then something bad's going to happen to him. So he keeps telling Romallo, don't say anything. Just, stand back in the shadows or whatever. But Romallo just can't. And he ends up pulling the guy off of the woman and fighting with him and accidentally causing the guy to fall down these stone steps, and he hits his head and he dies. Um, so then you see Romallo being tied up and taken away on a wagon, and he's screaming for Cainazzo, Cainazzo, where are you? I'm afraid. I don't know what they're going to do to me. And as viewers of this, we're pretty sure that something bad is going to befall Ramallo. And during some of the final scenes, we see Cainazzo walking through the streets of Milan, and we see guns pointed at somebody. We don't see it first, but I had a pretty good idea that it was going to be Ramallo. So Ramallo's in front of a firing squad, basically. And by the time Cainazzo gets there, he gets there just in time to see them firing all their guns at Ramallo. And Ramallo dies. And they, you know, just just throw him up on a wagon like he's a side of beef. And so the final scene, there's a big celebration. The Italians are like, and just regular, just regular citizens, not these patriots and stuff. But then you have some of the patriots and the politicians and stuff standing up and saying, "Oh, this is a great day for Milan. Milan is free." And they're talking to citizens and stuff. And Cainazzo comes wandering onto the stage. And I'm kind of, it, it kind of reminded me of the scene in Forrest Gump. And some people are going to say, "Oh my God, Dan." the scene in Forrest Gump where Abby Hoffman pulls Forrest up on the stage and they want him to explain, what it was like in Vietnam. It's not exactly, but the few similarities. So they say, "What about you, citizen? Do you want to tell your story of what you did during the revolution?" And Kainazo finally says to all these citizens out there in the audience, "They conned you." And you see the politicians looking very uncomfortable. And I find this movie, even though it was 1973 and it was Italian, I see distinct parallels between what's going on now in the United States politically and what historically was going on in Milan in the 1800s. As far as, political stuff. And if you don't believe me, you need to watch the film. And so you hear Kainazo tell the people that they've been conned. You see the politicians looking all uncomfortable, like, this is not what we wanted. We wanted this guy to come here and say all the great things he did during the revolution. And you see the citizens, the regular people of Milan, just looking very uncomfortable. And, basically looking like we've been swindled. You know, they used us for their own gain, is what these people did. They conned us, which is exactly what Kainazo says. They conned you. And then the movie ends. But I think there's a lot there to this movie. I really, really do. And I definitely think it's worth a watch. I wouldn't advise you to go out and buy it. But if you can watch it for a free version, and it is on Tubi, folks. So you can watch it for free on Tubi. It is not dubbed. I don't think any version is dubbed. I actually watched a copy that Steve had. Um, and I had to read subtitles, so keep that in mind. Um, it's probably not a good idea to watch it if you've got a headache because you're gonna have to read subtitles, or if you're really really sleepy because you'll probably end up dozing off and won't. You're gonna wake up and hear Italian, but unless you speak Italian, you're not gonna understand it, right? But this is probably going to shock people, but I'm going to give you a rating here. And this is probably going to shock the heck out of Steve, too. But I'm going to give it a 4 Deadites out of 5 because I could see myself waiting a little bit and watching this again. I won't give it a 5, but definitely, I think this one is worth a watch. It's not your typical Argento, but I think that is what makes it special. And that is also what I'm trying to do during these Terror Time Teas for the month of August. Because this is Argento August, and I wanted to talk on Terror Time Tea about some of the lesser known Argento films. And even though this isn't a horror film or a Giallo film per se, it does have some horrific elements in it. So I think it fits with Terror Time Tea. So I guess that's all from me uh, tonight, folks. I'm going to try to get this uploaded before 12. So technically, it can be considered a Friday Terror Time Tea. But I hope that you guys and gals got something out of this. For those of you that watch this once I upload it to YouTube. And I hope that some of you actually consider watching the movie after this. Keep in mind, you can watch it for free on Tubi, but you're probably going to have to read subtitles, okay? Unless you speak Italian, okay? Or unless you understand Italian. But I'm out of here for now. I'm off like a dirty shirt again, as I said earlier on Friday Foolish. But I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Friday and a wonderful weekend, folks. And I'll see everybody next time.